Boom, stop! In episode 85 of Man Up, I answer the question of why you might have difficulty reading social situations.
Masculinity for the intelligent man. I'm David Tian, Ph.D., and this is Man Up!
Hi, this is David Tian, Ph.D., and welcome to episode 85 of Man Up. And I'm here in Bangkok in my suite back home. It's nice to be here. Okay, so I got a question, and it's kind of a long one again. I'm going to summarize it. This one's from Larry. He's basically asking, he found an old blog post that I was updating until about 2 or 3 years ago on the old drasianrake.com blog. And that's the blog that I started out blogging with. Just make sure this isn't on the microphone. That I was blogging with like 10 years, starting like about 9 years ago. So anyway, found a post on there on movies that I recommend to guys to watch for examples of seductive characters. Sexually attractive male characters. And he says that he's not sure what he's watching. He sees a great variety of characters, some manipulative and despicable, some rich and powerful, some goofy to him, and he's not sure what he's supposed to be seeing in these videos. And I point out in that post to watch for body language, eye contact, tonality, the vibe, the energy, the intensity, or the relaxed nature. It really is different between the characters. That's the beauty of it. So I posted that, and a long list of movies to look for. A lot of them are classics. Stood the test of time. Jack Nicholson is in a bunch of them. Actually, I think I ordered them or arranged them by the actor and not just the movie name itself. So anyway, you can Google that and find that. Movies for modeling and asianrake.com and you'll find it. But he's saying he doesn't see it. He doesn't see what's there. Now, many years ago, I had an idea of creating a video course based on breaking down movies. And then I hired a video editor for it. But then once I started posting them, I realized that they're actually copyrighted and they kept getting taken down by YouTube, and then it was just such a hassle, and it became a lot more work than I anticipated, so I stopped that. So and it's a copyright issue. So here's the thing, I do this in live events. I'll do breakdowns of movie clips in live events, thanks to a couple very good students of mine many years ago who ripped the clips off and sent me the clips, so I can use those. But and there are some good breakdowns of movies done by some of my friends. You can find those on YouTube. So some of those are still there. I'm not sure how they got around the copyright issue, but anyway, so they're there. But I think examples of great, attractive men can be found any weekend in any major city in the world. I discovered this fact over 10 years ago, well over 10 years ago, and it was just a process of learning what to observe. And when I was actively clubbing 3 or 4 nights a week, and at the bars, the rest of the time, I was there, and I was doing my thing, and I was talking to a lot of women, and there were plenty of guys around, but none of them, well, 99.9% of them didn't know what to pick up on, so they had no idea what was going on, so basically they're just blind. And this is, I just thought, too bad for these guys. But then when I started coaching, I realized that this is a common problem among men all around the world, and that's why they're not improving, because they don't know what to look for. And this is something that I understood in other areas of life from a young age. I'm going to talk about that to answer Larry's question. And a great example of this is actually a recent one, and one that applies to me is that, And I use I'm going to use the categories of the expert eye versus the untutored eye, the expert eye versus the untutored eye. And the untutored eye looks physically, I guess, is using his eyes to look at the thing, the phenomena, the event or whatever, and doesn't notice what's important there. But the expert eye takes one look and knows exactly what's happening and what to do about it maybe, and the analysis and so on, and is already calculating, moving ahead. And there's so many great examples of this. Athletics is a really easy and great example of this. I used to use the term court sense, so in basketball, you know, like Michael Johnson or Michael Jordan, you know, Magic, or Michael Jordan, or whatever, like Steph Curry, coming down the court, sees a lot more than you and I do watching it, or would definitely coming down the court would notice. So they're seeing people cut, they're seeing defensive plays taking place in the defense, and they're reading everything, and there's, you know, many steps ahead, like Wayne Gretzky back in the day with hockey, Mario Lemieux with hockey. I mean, there's just so many great examples of this. But for myself, right now, I mean, like I'm recording this and Conor McGregor's about to fight Nate Diaz, and I'm really pumped about that fight. And when, so that's just a total trivial thing. When Ronda Rousey got knocked out by Holly Holmes, I'm sure many of you watched this fight. If you haven't, you got to go watch it. And when I saw the fight live, because I paid for the pay-per-view all the way from Thailand, and I watched this fight go down, and I thought that a lot of the fight, Rousey just looked bad and out of control, and she looked sloppy, and you know, and I thought Holmes was in control the entire time. And I was like, whoa, what a contrast between, you know, that fight and Rousey's earlier fights, and it was quite a shock, right? And then a few days later, I saw a breakdown of the fight by George St. Pierre's coach, Firas Zahabi. And Zahabi's put out some really interesting videos on his own YouTube channel. And one of them is the breakdown of the Holly Holmes Ronda Rousey fight. And then that's when I saw through his eyes, an expert eye, the fact that Rousey was actually doing a lot. It's just that Holly Holmes was countering at the crucial moments. And in fact, there was a moment when Rousey almost had it, but then Holmes did at the last minute the correct counter, and she got lucky, and then she got out, escaped. And then after that, Rousey was just spent. And you can just see the breakdown yourself. Just Google search it, YouTube search it. Firas Zahabi's breakdown of the Rousey Holmes fight. And the thing is, like, for 3 days, you know, I've watched that, because it's a short fight, I've watched that fight multiple times. Actually, I think I was pay-per-viewing it in Toronto. I think it was in Toronto then. Anyway, and I was talking about this fight with my brother-in-law and our friends there. And I didn't even know what the heck I was talking about, really. Like, looking back on it, the Zahabi's breakdown was beautiful. I was just so impressed, and it was like a thing of beauty to behold. When he slowed it down, he showed the arm and where it was, you know, and then he interspliced that with other clips of the other people she's fought where they made that mistake, didn't do the counter. And it was really cool to see. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I just have a newfound respect for it. Like I mentioned in the past video, I spent a week doing it every day in Singapore for the first time. After watching it for many years, I finally did it. I'm really not a fan of the gi, by the way. For the guys who do BJJ, the gym I'm at, that I go to in Singapore, requires 3 stripes to go to no gi. I just don't want to waste my fingers, you know. Anyway, just another bracket tangent. The fight breakdown was great. That's an MMA breakdown. And in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's a lot like that. It's a lot like chess. And when I'm watching it, I come at it with a novice's eye. I don't know what to look for. And it's like that with attraction or seduction or social interactions before you are expert, before you're a practitioner, or before you make some progress, like you're an intermediate, before you learn. So this is true about everything that you're learning. You don't know what to look for because you don't know what to look for. And that's a natural, normal thing. So get fucking educated. Now, the easiest ways to get educated is to take a course, you know, go to a class, get instruction. You can do it. You can try to DIY, do it yourself through videos like this, through books. You know, learn for yourself through books. And I do a lot of that myself. My first thing will be to, actually that's not true. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, my first thing would be to try to learn it myself. Actually, that's not even true either. My personal first thing to do is to get one-on-one coaching. If that's not affordable, or if I'm not passionate enough about that skill, you know, then I might just try to do it on my own. So I think when it came to Thai language, like I downloaded the Pimsleur courses first on my phone and so on. And then I was just too lazy, didn't go through them. So I knew, fuck, I got to get a one-on-one teacher. And so I did that. With martial arts, I think I'm going to have to go with the one-on-one teacher soon. I just don't know which disciplines to focus on because I don't want to. Anyway, so this is too much detail, but the point is you can learn on your own, but it's sort of like learning karate or whatever. Karate's not popular these days, but it's sort of like learning Muay Thai on your own through videos. I suppose you can make, if you know nothing at all, then watching the videos on how to do martial arts will take you up because you started at zero. But then pretty quickly, you're going to hit a plateau with what most people, 99% of people. I can imagine somebody becoming an expert in their garage through videos, but most people can't do that. And then you need personal expert feedback. The thing is, when it comes to dating and women and relationships and psychology, most people have as their instructors, or maybe not instructors, their peers, the people they go to for advice, are people like themselves. So ask yourself this, the people you go to for your advice, your friends, mostly, right? Your friends. Occasionally your parents, but they're in a different generation. They don't quite understand the dynamics, usually, of people in your generation, right? So anyway, those people, your friends, people who are your peer group, they are probably inexperienced, uneducated, unqualified, not expert, inexperienced, instructors, but you're going to them for advice. Just let that sink in. Okay, so like, imagine you're learning how to drive a car, and instead of going to a driving instructor or a school, you ask other people who have never driven a car before either. Or at most, you know, they've had some driving courses, like a few lessons, or maybe their dad's driven with them in the, you know, show them how to drive a car a couple times, and you go to them to ask them to teach you, or you go to them to ask for advice on how to drive the car. It just is ridiculous, right? I mean, how many crashes are you gonna? That's why, like, people treat one of the most important aspects of their lives. I mean, relationships are arguably more important than health and wealth, because if, you know, like people who are perfectly healthy and have plenty of money but are lonely as fuck, what good is that, right? You know, but like arguably one of the most important aspects of your life, you're treating it with less significance, with less importance. You're treating it with less care than driving a car, which I understand. I mean, driving a car is pretty dangerous. I mean, that's basically a 2-ton death machine, as Elon Musk says. So you better not kill anyone when you get behind that wheel, or yourself. Don't kill yourself. And it's important. And people, because of the physical danger, they respect it. And actually, not even that. It's because of the legal, right? The legal implications. You have to pass this test and so on. But there's no like licensing for relationships or anything. So people treat this very important aspect of their lives, or social lives, or dating lives, or social intelligence, emotional intelligence, relationships, psychology. They treat this arguably one of the most important aspects of their lives as if they don't matter, as if it doesn't matter. So they just crash and burn. They rely on unqualified, unreliable sources. I mean, it's just common sense, right? But anyway, people expect to be able to just pick it up like that. And they go to watch these movies and they're surprised they don't pick up what, you know, they don't pick anything up. Because it's sort of like me as a totally, just an amateur novice watching a fight versus Zahabi watching a fight. You know, totally different. And if you think about it, whatever you do for a living, excuse me, I'm going to feel like I'm about to sneeze. Whatever you do for a living, you probably will notice a lot more about it than what you did, like what a total beginner would notice. This is true for jazz. Jazz is a great example. Most people who listen to high-level jazz pick up maybe 10% of what's really going on. I did jazz at a high level for a teenager, for like, I think it was 12 years. And most people who tell me that they love jazz, really, their ear training, and it's really just listening to music, sucks. They're not picking up a whole lot of things. And that's why that's one of the reasons why jazz is just too complex for the untutored ear. Fashion is another great example. Men can, well, actually, since this is a video mostly at men, fashion's a bad example. But any women watching this, you know what it's like when you take a guy out shopping and he's got no clue what to look for. I mean, most guys just wear what feels comfortable, baggy clothes and stuff that's not too tight, and just safe. So there you go, fashion. Another one is financial reports. And this is probably one that maybe my viewership would understand more easily. People who know how to read the finance section of newspapers can read the stocks, the reports and so on. I'm definitely untutored in that. I know enough to make my way through it, but some of my friends, man, they actually, for a living, give financial advice to corporations and so on. And their eye on reading those stats is insane. And they make split-second decisions. Well, the decision is a split second. It takes a split second, but the lead up to the decision to qualify them to make that decision is, of course, many years of experience and training. Millions and millions of, like multi-millions of dollars ride on, one click of a mouse for them. And they're, so that's another example of the untutored eye versus the cultivated eye or the expert eye. Fashion, right, because I just came up with these just before I clicked the play, record button, is I forgot to mention in fashion, there's that show with gay guys and like 4 or 5 gay men who give advice. Queer Eye for the something, I can't remember what it is, but it's like gay men pointing at doing makeovers on dudes, straight dudes, and it's pretty funny, entertaining, but it's also interesting to see what they pick up in terms of what they see. Anyway, again, fashion's a bad example for dudes because they won't relate, sorry, but the women who are watching this, I think you will understand. And then finally, I just thought of another one, the military, and CIA, people who have been trained in reading micro-expressions. I took some micro-expressions training. That was really fun and very useful. But there are, of course, experts who have been doing it for many years and undergone much more rigorous training. And they'll be able to pick up these subtle cues on the face and in the body, and even in the tone of voice that will be tells for how a person's thinking or feeling. What they're thinking or how they're feeling. So anyway, lots of great examples of how in day-to-day situations in every discipline, the expert eye plays a really big role. And you should, when it comes to dating and attraction, what you see with your 1 or 2 years of learning as an amateur, basically, or as a student. I mean, for me, going back just 5, 6, 7 years, or even going back, 3 years. What I pick up now is, I would say, exponentially more than what I picked up back then. I feel it. I read people much quicker, much more accurately. I pick up a lot of things that I didn't pick up before. I have many more heuristics, heuristics, H-E-U-R-I-S-T-I-C-S, that help us, rules for making judgments quickly. And it's just even me compared to myself 3 or 4 years ago, it's just, I would be a student to myself now. And that's the way it should be, right? You're always making progress in life. That's an important thing. So there's always another level. So understand that. Just have patience with yourself. A little impatience is good. It drives you to move quicker. But to have patience and realize this is the long game. This is your life. And it will take your life to get there. Okay, my God, almost 20 minutes. All right, so join the private Facebook group. Join the private Facebook group. I'll see you in there. Until next time, man up.